Sometimes I wish I was a Titan. If I had shoulders the size of mountains, people would think twice about underestimating my strength. But in all honesty, what I have is better. I speak softly, my shoulders are normal sized, and I carry a big arc staff. The arcstrider has been one of the strongest hunter subclasses since Destiny 2's launch, and the new subclass branch, the Way of the Current, is keeping that trend alive. This arc-infused martial arts-inspired subclass is easy to learn, but its abilities have a decent amount of nuance, so let's get the overview started. For this overview, we're going to work backwards and talk about the super ability first. The Way of the Current doesn't have a completely new super like all of the other subclasses that were released with Forsaken, but the addition of the Whirlwind Guard ability adds a lot of depth to the base game's arc staff. While you're in your super, you can activate Whirlwind Guard to deflect incoming attacks back at the enemy. Guarding causes your super to deplete faster. After deflecting an attack, your arc staff hits deal triple their normal damage. What that means is you can do a lot to optimize your damage output. The first thing to note is that you deflect attacks when activating your arc staff. If you catch a deflect with the activation, your first few hits will deal triple damage. After that initial deflect, you shouldn't hold down your guard to fish for more to increase your damage, but if you notice a ranged attack coming in, raise your guard for an instant, deflect the attacks, and benefit from the increased damage. Also, you cannot deflect melee attacks. Besides the deflects, there isn't anything new about this version of the arc staff compared to the older versions. You have access to light attacks and a heavy attack. Both of these attacks send out a short-range arc wave in front of you. You can chain together 3 light attacks in succession, and you can perform a single light attack in the air. Heavy attacks performed in the air cause you to slam down on the ground and deal area damage in a small radius around your character. You can also dodge during your super for no additional cost. The melee ability for the Way of the Current is Tempest Strike. It's performed by sliding then activating your melee. On activation, it sends out a long line of arc energy that damages all enemies it hits. It's a straightforward melee ability, but it becomes a great ad-clearing tool when paired with Gambler's Dodge. Gambler's Dodge resets your melee ability when activated near enemies. Lightning Weave is a passive ability that increases your reload speed dramatically for about 5 seconds after meleeing an enemy. Tempest Strike does not proc Lightning Weave. The increase in reload speed granted by Lightning Weave is on par with the reload speed you see provided by weapon perks like Outlaw. If you use Lightning Weave consistently, you can make different decisions about what constitutes a god roll on your guns. For example, I generally don't use a weapon with a slow reload speed. I've had an Antiope D with an extended mag and the slowest reload speed I've ever seen sitting in my vault for a little over a month now. I love the Antiope, but spending 20 minutes reloading every time I empty the magazine is painful. With Lightning Weave, that's no longer an issue, and the combination of extended mag, Zen Moment, and high impact reserves becomes very powerful. While we're on the subject of weapons, mid to close range weapons are great pairings for this subclass. Since you need to be in close range to hit enemies with Tempest Strike and to proc Lightning Weave, you don't want a loadout that completely caters to long-range engagements. Hand cannons, shotguns, and submachine guns are great choices. The Crimson is a particularly good choice for this subclass if you're having trouble staying alive in close quarters. Since you don't have access to any healing abilities, the Crimson's exotic perk Cruel Remedy will help you stay alive. Kills with the Crimson trigger health regeneration, and precision kills refill the magazine. The final ability for the Way of the Current is Ebb and Flow, and this passive opens up the subclass to a world of possibilities. This ability has some effects that aren't listed in the tooltip. Whenever you damage an enemy with an arc ability, they become electrified. Meleeing an electrified enemy will reduce the cooldown of all your abilities and disorient the enemy you hit. Additionally, arc ability kills reduce all of your cooldowns. That's the part that's not listed in the tooltips. The electrified effect doesn't come into play against most red bar enemies, but against higher tier enemies, you can combo your abilities with melee hits for massive cooldown reduction and crowd control. The cooldown reduction on ability kills is amazing for chaining abilities together against trash enemies. Throwing an arc bolt grenade into a crowd of enemies will refresh a significant portion of the grenade. Follow that up with a Tempest Strike into a big crowd and your grenade will be almost ready for use again. Then use Gambler's Dodge to reset Tempest Strike and start the loop again. Now that we know about all the abilities, we can talk about optimizing them even further. Tempest Strike can be a gateway drug for your other abilities, so I think pairing Paragon mods for class ability cooldown reduction with Gambler's Dodge is a phenomenal way to spec your character. For armor perks, the helmet perk hands-on or ashes to assets will grant you extra super energy on melee or grenade kills respectively. This is a very ability-centric subclass branch, so those perks will see more benefits than perks like Pump Action and Light Reactor, which provide super energy on weapon kills. For exotic armor, you can double down on your cooldown reduction with the Frosties. Sprinting grants ability energy. With the Frosties, you can have your dodge off cooldown every few seconds, and because of ebb and flow, the rest of your abilities won't be far behind. The Lucky Raspberry is another phenomenal option. Arc Bolt hits have a chance to reset your grenade cooldown, and if you hit 4 or more targets with one Arc Bolt, the cooldown is automatically reset. Since your arc ability hits reduce the cooldowns of your arc abilities because of ebb and flow, you'll have very quick cooldowns for your dodge and melee ability if you're manipulating the exotic perk on the Raspberry correctly. Last but certainly not least, the Raid Influx is a best-in-slot exotic armor piece for any arcstrider build. It significantly increases your damage output and duration of your arc staff. If you manage to block an attack while your Raid Influx is at maximum stacks, you'll do a stupid amount of damage. But even if you don't, this exotic armor is still amazing. Pair the Raid Influx with ashes to assets or hands-on and a full stack of the appropriate cooldown reduction mods, and you'll be a lean, mean arc-striding machine. Overall, the Way of the Current is a straightforward subclass, but it's very powerful, especially when modded and fully geared. Mid and close range combat is where this subclass likes to fight, but it doesn't have any health recovery abilities, so if you're finding it difficult to survive a fight, consider the Crimson exotic hand cannon, or the Wormhusk Crown exotic helmet, or both. Next, Gambler's Dodge is a 100% must-use for the Way of the Current in my opinion. The ability to reset your Tempest Strike will increase your ad clearing potential significantly because of ebb and flow, granting ability energy on kills. Finally, although the Arc Staff Super isn't completely new, the new deflect mechanic that was added is very valuable. Try to deflect enemy attacks on activation to start your super with triple damage, and look for deflects while you're fighting, but don't hold your guard down and waste time when you could be slapping enemies with your stick. And there we go, that's going to do it for the Way of the Current overview. I know it was a bit of a delay between this one and the last overview, but not to worry, we're back on schedule and there's plenty more Destiny 2 content coming in the future. So with all of that said, the name of the game, it's Destiny 2. The name of the channel is iBluairJgR. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about the Way of the Current not having a completely new super. Are you happy with the Whirlwind Guard, or do you wish it was a completely new version of the Arc Staff? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.